Have you ever wondered what happens when the wrong man gets pulled over and the system thinks it can break him? Tonight, we're diving into a story that will leave you stunned. A calm, respected community leader falsely arrested, humiliated, and underestimated until the truth explodes in a way no one could have predicted. Meet Alex Thornton, a man who followed every rule, showed every ounce of respect, and still found himself behind bars because of unchecked arrogance and prejudice. But what the officers didn't know was that Alex wasn't just another face in the crowd. He was someone who would turn their world upside down. Stay with me as we uncover a powerful journey from wrongful arrest to public reckoning, proving that dignity, truth, and courage can shake even the strongest walls of injustice. If you're ready for stories that challenge assumptions, ignite change, and inspire courage, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment to share your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another story that matters. Now let's dive in. The quiet hum of the evening was interrupted by flashing red and blue lights reflecting in Alex Thornton's rearview mirror. A 50-year-old man with a composed demeanor and years of leadership experience, Alex had spent the day working with local organizations in Atlanta, Georgia. He was heading home, looking forward to a warm meal and the comforting presence of his family. But as the Alex checked his dashboard, 29 miles per hour in a 35 zone, no broken taillights, no violations. Still, he knew the routine. "You in a hurry tonight?" the first officer barked. "No, sir," Alex replied evenly. "Just heading home." "License and registration," the officer demanded, ignoring Alex's response. As Alex slowly reached for his documents, he narrated every move. But before he could hand them over, the officer's tone hardened. "Step out of the vehicle," he ordered. Confusion flickered across Alex's face. "Is there a problem, officer?" "You were swerving back there," the officer said flatly. Alex frowned. He hadn't swerved. His dash cam could prove it. "Sir, that's not correct. Step out of the vehicle, now." The weight of the moment settled over him. Alex had done nothing wrong, but the situation was spiraling, and he knew this was far from over. The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into Alex Thornton's wrists as Officer Grayson tightened them without care. The 50-year-old community leader had done everything right, kept his hands visible, spoken calmly, and complied with every request. Yet here he was, being shoved toward the patrol car like a criminal. "Is this necessary?" Alex asked, keeping his voice steady despite the rising frustration in his chest. "You're resisting," Grayson sneered. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Alex let out a slow breath. He knew better than to argue. He had faced situations like this before, too many times. The second officer, a younger man named Carter, chuckled from the driver's seat. "Reckless drivers always have an excuse," Carter muttered as Alex was forced into the back of the squad car. The engine roared to life and the car rumbled forward. Outside, porch lights flickered on as curious neighbors peeked through their blinds. No one stepped out. No one interfered. "So," Carter said, glancing at Alex through the rearview mirror, "what's your story? Late-night drug run? Or just like giving us a hard time?" Alex met his gaze without flinching. "I'm just a man trying to get home." Grayson snorted. "Yeah, we'll see about that." The drive to the precinct was short, but for Alex it stretched endlessly. His mind raced, not with fear, but with calculation. He knew his rights, and he knew this arrest was baseless. They had no idea who they had just detained. As they pulled into the station, Carter turned in his seat, smirking. "Welcome to your new home for the night." The cuffs came off, but the humiliation remained. Alex was led into a cold, dimly lit holding cell. The iron bars clanged shut behind him. On the other side, Grayson and Carter leaned against a desk, laughing quietly as they reviewed his ID. "Nothing out of the ordinary," Carter muttered, almost disappointed. Grayson shrugged. "Doesn't matter. Guys like him always have something to hide." Alex heard every word, but he wasn't angry. He was waiting, because soon enough the tables would turn. Inside the precinct, the air was thick with arrogance. Officers Grayson and Carter leaned casually against the booking desk, flipping through Alex Thornton's wallet and papers as if they were examining a cheap deck of cards. The smirk on Grayson's face widened as he turned to his partner. "Look at this guy," he scoffed. "Nice car, clean record. Too clean, if you ask me." Carter chuckled, tossing Alex's driver's license onto the desk. "You know what they say. If you dig deep enough, you'll find something. Guys like him always have a skeleton or two hiding somewhere." Alex sat in the holding cell, watching their performance with an unreadable expression. He had seen this kind of abuse before. Officers who bent the law to fit their narrative. Officers who needed no justification other than their own biases. The game was all too familiar. From across the room, Grayson called out to him, his tone mocking. "So, Alex, or should I say, Mr. Thornton, what exactly were you doing out that late, huh? Drug deal? Scouting for trouble?" Alex didn't flinch. His gaze remained steady. "I was driving home," he said simply. Carter snorted. Yeah, they all say that." He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice just enough to make it sound like a taunt. "You see, here's the thing. People like you always think you're smarter than us, that you can just walk away, but we decide how long you sit in there." Alex exhaled slowly. He knew that any sign of irritation would only feed their need for control, so he remained composed, hands resting in his lap, posture straight. Let them dig. Let them assume. Because soon they would realize they had made a mistake far bigger than they could handle. The precinct bustled with routine activity, paperwork shuffling, phones ringing, and officers exchanging idle banter. But when Lieutenant Morgan Haper stepped into the room, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations lowered, backs straightened. She wasn't the kind of officer anyone dared to ignore. Her reputation for discipline and fairness preceded her, and tonight, her patience was already running thin. Holding a tablet in one hand and a manila folder in the other, Morgan strode toward the booking desk. Her sharp eyes immediately found Officers Grayson and Carter, who were still casually leaning against the desk, chatting as if they hadn't just dragged in an innocent man. "What's going on here?" Her voice was cool, controlled. Grayson barely glanced up. "Picked this guy up for reckless driving and resisting arrest," he said, nodding toward the holding cell. Morgan flipped open the file, skimming through the hastily written report. "Reckless driving?" she repeated. Her fingers tapped against the tablet screen, pulling up the dash cam footage from the patrol car. The video loaded, and within seconds her expression hardened. The footage showed Alex Thornton's car cruising steadily within the lane, his speed well below the limit. There was no reckless driving, no sudden swerving, just a routine drive home interrupted by flashing lights. Then came the audio, Grayson's and Carter's voices, dripping with unwarranted suspicion. Morgan looked up, her gaze piercing. "You didn't review this before making the arrest?" Carter shrugged, feigning indifference. "Didn't get to it yet." A tense silence fell over the room. Morgan's grip on the tablet tightened. "Didn't get to it," she repeated, her tone laced with barely contained anger. "You mean to tell me you cuffed a man, brought him in, and locked him up without so much as verifying your own accusations?" Grayson opened his mouth, but Morgan cut him off with a sharp glare. "Enough," she snapped. Then without another word, she turned on her heel and walked toward the holding cell. Alex, still seated on the cold bench, looked up as she approached. Unlike the others, her expression wasn't smug. It was measured, professional. "Mr. Thornton," she said, unlocking the cell door, "you're free to go." Alex studied her for a moment before stepping out. "No charges?" "No charges," Morgan confirmed. Her voice softened slightly. This should never have happened. Grayson and Carter stood frozen, their expressions paling as the weight of their actions settled in. As Alex walked out of the precinct, he knew this wasn't over. Not for him, and certainly not for them. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as Alex Thornton, a composed 48-year-old man, stood up, adjusted his tie, and faced the judge. "Your Honor," he began, his voice steady, "my name is Alex Thornton. 3 weeks ago, I was appointed as the chief of police for this city." A collective gasp echoed through the room. Reporters paused, pens hovering above notepads. Attorneys exchanged astonished glances. Officers Grayson and Carter, seated at the prosecution table, turned ashen, realizing the gravity of their blunder. The judge, regaining composure, tapped his gavel lightly. "Order in the court," he commanded, his gaze now fixed on Thornton. "Chief Thornton, Please continue. Alex took a measured breath. I chose not to disclose my position during the incident, he explained, to ensure an unbiased examination of the facts. What transpired that evening wasn't merely a personal affront, but indicative of a systemic issue within our law enforcement. The courtroom remained silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Jurors shifted, acknowledging the profound implications. The prosecutor, previously confident, now fumbled with papers, clearly unsettled. Sandra Reyes, Alex's defense attorney, rose with determination. Your Honor, she addressed, her tone sharp, the charges against Chief Thornton are baseless, stemming from misconduct and prejudice by Officers Grayson and Carter. We move for an immediate dismissal of all charges. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with anticipation. Alex Thornton sat at the defense table, his attorney, Sandra Reyes, beside him. Across the aisle, Officers Grayson and Carter fidgeted nervously, their attorney whispering last-minute advice. The judge entered, and the bailiff called the court to order. The prosecutor began, painting a picture of a routine traffic stop escalated by Thornton's alleged erratic behavior and resistance. The officers acted within their rights, she asserted, responding to a driver who posed a potential threat. Sandra stood, her demeanor confident. Your Honor, the defense would like to present video evidence that contradicts the prosecution's narrative. She gestured to the technician, who dimmed the lights and started the playback. The dash cam footage illuminated the screen, showing Thornton's vehicle maintaining a steady speed of 29 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. There was no swerving, no erratic movements, just a calm drive home. The jury watched intently as the patrol car's lights flashed and Thornton promptly pulled over. Next, the body cam footage played. The officers approached Thornton's car, their tones aggressive from the outset. You in a hurry tonight? Grayson barked. Thornton's voice remained calm as he responded, No, sir, just heading home. The video showed him complying fully, narrating his movements as he retrieved his license and registration. The courtroom was silent, the evidence speaking volumes. Sandra paused the video and addressed the jury. This footage clearly shows my client cooperating and the officers escalating without cause. She let the statement linger before continuing. But there's more. She resumed the playback. The body cam captured Grayson's muttered remark. Another one of them causing trouble, followed by Carter's chuckle. Figures. The jury's eyes widened, some exchanging uneasy glances. Sandra faced the courtroom. This isn't just a case of misconduct. It's a blatant example of racial profiling. She turned to the judge. Your Honor, we move for an immediate dismissal of all charges and a formal investigation into Officers Grayson and Carter's conduct. The prosecutor, visibly shaken, stood. The state requests a recess to reassess the evidence. The judge, his expression stern, nodded. Granted, court will reconvene in 1 hour. He banged the gavel and the courtroom buzzed with murmurs. During the recess, media outlets scrambled, headlines already brewing about the unfolding scandal. When court reconvened, the prosecutor announced the state's decision to drop all charges against Thornton. The judge concurred, and the case was dismissed. As Thornton exited the courthouse, reporters clamored for a statement. He paused, looking directly into the cameras. This experience highlights a systemic issue within our law enforcement. I intend to work diligently to ensure no one else endures what I did. His words resonated, signaling a call for change that would echo beyond the courtroom. In the aftermath of Alex Thornton's wrongful arrest, the release of dash cam and body cam footage ignited a firestorm of public outrage across the United States. Major news outlets broadcasted the videos, showcasing the blatant misuse of authority and racial profiling exhibited by Officers Grayson and Carter. Social media platforms buzzed with discussions as hashtags like #JusticeForAlex and #ReformThePolice trended nationwide. Communities mobilized swiftly, organizing peaceful protests in major cities from New York to Los Angeles. Demonstrators carried signs reading "End Police Brutality" and "Equality for All," demanding systemic changes within law enforcement agencies. Prominent civil rights activists and community leaders joined the chorus, emphasizing that Thornton's experience was not an isolated incident, but part of a broader pattern of injustice. The mounting pressure from the public and continuous media coverage compelled local authorities to take immediate action. An independent investigation was launched to scrutinize the conduct of the involved officers. The inquiry corroborated that Grayson and Carter had grossly violated departmental protocols and civil rights laws. Consequently, both officers were suspended without pay pending further disciplinary proceedings. This incident served as a catalyst for a nationwide dialogue on police reform. Lawmakers at various levels began proposing legislation aimed at increasing transparency, implementing bias training, and establishing independent oversight committees to monitor police conduct. Communities, empowered by the momentum, continued to advocate for lasting changes to ensure accountability and justice within the criminal justice system. After experiencing a wrongful arrest, Alex Thornton, the newly appointed chief of police, recognized the urgent need for comprehensive reforms within the police department to restore community trust and ensure accountability. With unwavering determination, he initiated a series of measures aimed at addressing implicit biases and rebuilding the relationship between law enforcement and the public. Implementing implicit bias training. Understanding that unconscious biases can influence officers' judgments and lead to unjust actions, Thornton mandated that all personnel undergo implicit bias training. These programs are designed to help officers identify and mitigate their subconscious prejudices, thereby fostering fairer interactions with community members. Research indicates that such training can reduce wrongful arrests and enhance public cooperation. Establishing independent oversight mechanisms. To promote transparency and accountability, Thornton established an independent oversight committee comprising diverse community representatives. This body is tasked with reviewing complaints of police misconduct, conducting impartial investigations, and recommending disciplinary actions when warranted. This initiative ensures that inquiries are conducted fairly, bolstering public confidence in law enforcement. Reforming use of force policies. Thornton conducted a thorough review and revision of use of force policies, emphasizing de-escalation techniques and the application of force only when absolutely necessary. He also instituted a complete ban on practices such as chokeholds, which have previously resulted in severe consequences. These policy changes aim to minimize violent encounters and ensure that officers uphold the highest ethical standards. Enhancing community engagement and collaboration. Recognizing that a disconnect between police and the community can lead to misunderstandings and mistrust, Thornton promoted initiatives to increase positive interactions. He encouraged officers to participate in community events, organize town hall meetings, and create open forums to hear residents' concerns and suggestions. This approach not only fosters better relationships, but also empowers the community to contribute to the reform process. Continuous evaluation and improvement. Thornton implemented a system to assess the effectiveness of these reforms by collecting data on police-community interactions and soliciting public feedback. Based on this information, he adjusts policies and training programs to ensure that the changes lead to sustained positive outcomes. Through these concerted efforts, Alex Thornton is not only addressing immediate issues, but also laying the groundwork for a culture of responsibility and respect within the police force. By proactively confronting challenges and committing to reform, he is gradually restoring public trust and creating a safer, more equitable environment for all. The wrongful arrest of Alex Thornton, the newly appointed chief of police, became a catalyst for nationwide discussions on systemic reform within law enforcement. His personal experience underscored the pressing need for change and inspired others to confront injustice and demand accountability. Thornton's case highlighted the pervasive issue of implicit bias and the potential for abuse of power within police departments. By sharing his story, he shed light on the urgent necessity for comprehensive reforms to address these deep-seated problems. In response to his ordeal, Thornton implemented a series of transformative measures within his department. He mandated implicit bias training for all officers, established independent oversight committees to review misconduct allegations, and reformed use of force policies to emphasize de-escalation techniques. These initiatives aim to rebuild trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve. Thornton's proactive approach resonated beyond his jurisdiction, inspiring other law enforcement leaders to evaluate and reform their own practices. Community activists and policymakers also drew inspiration from his leadership, advocating for legislative changes to promote transparency, accountability, and justice within the criminal justice system. Through his unwavering commitment to justice and reform, Alex Thornton transformed a personal injustice into a powerful symbol for change, motivating a collective movement toward a more equitable and accountable law enforcement system. The narrative of Alex Thornton underscores the profound impact that individual experiences with injustice can have on the systemic reform. Thornton's journey from a victim of wrongful arrest to a proactive leader exemplifies the power of personal agency in effecting meaningful change. Thornton's case serves as a compelling reminder that confronting injustice requires both courage and resilience. His decision to transform personal adversity into a catalyst for reform highlights the importance of individual action in challenging systemic inequities. This narrative encourages others to recognize their potential to influence change, regardless of the scale of the injustice they face. Moreover, Thornton's leadership emphasizes the necessity of transparency and accountability within institutions. By implementing bias training and establishing oversight mechanisms, he addressed the root causes of misconduct, fostering a culture of trust and integrity. This approach illustrates that sustainable reform is achievable when leaders are committed to introspection and proactive measures. For older adults, Thornton's story resonates deeply as it underscores the enduring value of life experience in advocating for justice. It serves as a testament that one's capacity to contribute meaningfully to societal progress does not diminish with age. Engaging in community dialogues, mentoring younger generations, and participating in advocacy are avenues through which seniors can impart wisdom and drive change. In essence, Alex Thornton's experience is a powerful call to action, urging individuals to stand against injustice and work towards a system where accountability and fairness are not mere ideals, but lived realities. It highlights that through personal commitment and leadership, collective societal transformation is within reach. If you found Alex Thornton's journey from personal injustice to systemic reform inspiring, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. By liking our videos, subscribing, and enabling notifications, you'll stay updated with more impactful stories that offer valuable life lessons. Join our community today and be part of the movement toward positive change.